Welcome to Ken Hance, the best storyteller in Texas podcast. Find us online at hancepodcast.com. We also enjoy getting your email. Send it to info@hancepodcast.com. We'll start this episode like we do every episode with the saying of the day.
Saying of the day comes from Clint Murchison Sr., oil and gas guy, son later on the Cowboys. He said, money's like manure. If you spread it around, it'll do a lot of good. But if you keep it in one pile, it'll stink like hell. And that was his favorite saying, and it's pretty funny and pretty true. If you spread it around, it does a lot of good.
Did you know him?
And I did not. I knew Clint Jr.
Okay.
Knew his son. In fact, when I was in Congress, he got me tickets to the Redskin game, and so I went by his hotel, picked him up, and had a good visit with him. Nice. Nice guy. You know, I mean, we as Cowboy fans in Washington, D.C., you were outnumbered big time.
That's back during when that rivalry was a big one.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. Today, a couple of things I want to talk about, but one of them that's really important and is on everyone's mind is the trial of Daniel Penny in New York City. Mm-hmm. And that it's got a lot of coverage. It's just, it was unfortunate that he even had charges brought against him, but people don't realize the power of a district attorney. And a district attorney, the old saying is a DA can, he can indict a ham sandwich if he wants to. You know, people don't realize that if you're charged with something, you go in front of a grand jury and you can waive the right to go in front of the grand jury. But if you go, you can't take your lawyer in there with you. So it's pretty, stacked against you for a reason. And are there enough facts to put this thing to trial? And is there enough evidence to think that the person did something? And they look at that. But in some cases, they'll file charges without an indictment and then later indict them. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of the things that happened throughout the nation. George Soros has gotten involved in these DA races. And just like in Texas, in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, they don't file theft charges on you if you steal less than $750. California, I guess because of inflation, it's more expensive out there. It's $1,000. Mm-hmm. Now, the DA in Los Angeles got defeated.
That's right.
And I don't think they've ever elected a Republican out there in modern time. And he did because he was so soft on crime. And people are afraid, and they want to make sure their neighborhood is safe, and the streets and subways are safe. And on May 1st of 2023, Daniel Penny, who was 24 years of age, former Marine, he got on the subway, and at the stop, there was a guy boarded. It was a homeless guy, and the homeless guy, was named Jordan Neely. And Jordan Neely had some psychiatric problems in the past. But he got on, he's saying, I may kill everybody, but I'm not afraid to go to prison. He was just saying, I'm hungry, I need a job. Some of the things weren't, but he was yelling it and screaming it. And there was one lady that she had a baby in a stroller, and she got the baby out and moved the stroller and tried to get away from him. And he was saying threatening things to her and to everyone. And so, Daniel Penny took action, and he put a chokehold on him that he had learned while he was in the Marines, and put the chokehold on him. Now, there was a journalist there that recorded some of it, and he claims he put the chokehold on him, for 15 minutes, and asked him, well, did he have it on when they closed the door? And said, no, it was a little later. And that he stopped before they stopped. It was only 2 minutes before the next stop, 2 to 5 minutes at the most. And he recorded some of it. But a lot of witnesses, told the police and told the district attorney's office, they were scared. A guy gets on a bus or a subway or something and said, I'm going to kill everybody and I'm not afraid going to prison. I mean, you're not going to say, oh, that's okay. That's kind of ordinary, and so he put the chokehold on him, and the guy died. And the DA's office looked into it, and they took action, and they said that it was too much power for so little a crime, and he should have been handled by people that were mental health experts. Well, they don't have time to do all that, And he was concerned. The district attorney's office even agreed that Daniel Penny said that he was very concerned that the lady with the baby in the stroller were going to get hurt. And the guy took his coat off. The homeless guy took his coat off and threw it on the ground and made a lot of noise. Was screaming and everyone was. There's no one that thought that he was normal. There was something with him that he would have been normal. And there were two men that helped Daniel Penny, and they were not charged. And Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in Manhattan, he went after him, and that doesn't surprise me. He went after the former President Trump, and that was out to get him. But Bragg is very liberal, and if there's any way that he can help somebody get out of a crime, it seems like he does it. Unfortunately, that seems to be the way he operates. This was a case where the homeless guy was black, and Penny was white. And so Al Sharpton, who preached at the funeral, he had never met the guy, but he did the funeral, and he said that it was just a terrible situation of racism, and that's the only reason it happened. That's just absurd. This was someone trying to protect the people with him, and that it's unfortunate that it happened. The mayor of New York, Eric Adams, has said that they ought to dismiss the case. And AOC said that it's blatant racism, and the only reason the guy was killed was because he is African American. And once again, she speaks without knowing all the facts and without any judgment. But it's sad that the guy died, but his folks now are trying to do what they can to get a lawsuit and recover money for it. But this guy had been arrested 42 times. He had been arrested 42 times. I mean, that's a pretty bad record. And so it wasn't like he's some guy that left Sunday school and went out and some person jumped on him. This was a blatant case of someone threatening people and someone else standing up for him. Now, the jury's been deadlocked, and the judge dismissed the case and then came in with a lesser case of negligent homicide, where the penalty was 5 to 15. I think it's 3 to 13 or something like that now. And it appears to me they're trying to get any conviction they can because it's not going well, and they want to get a victory. And so most cases, when there's a hung jury, they'll dismiss the case. And we don't know what or I don't know what the hang-up is. Out of 12 people, is it one hanging it up? Is it 6? What's the hang-up status? But that'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of TV shows going to be made about this, and a lot of things like that. But the Marine, I read something this week where one person said he was trained to do a chokehold, and if he had done that in Afghanistan or Iraq against one of the enemies, he had gotten a Bronze Star. But here in New York City, you get charged with a crime, and that's that's going to be unfortunate. I know in my mind that President Trump would pardon him, but it's a state crime, so it'll be up to the governor, and she's not going to pardon him.
Hochul.
Yeah, she's made clear that she wants him in the prison, and but the mayor, there are others that have made it just the opposite. You talk about visitation and visitors and people, tourists that are showing up. It makes them to stop and think. I had some friends that just got back from New York, and they said they felt okay, but there are places you don't want to make the wrong turn at the wrong time of the day, and that the National Armed Robbers Association might get you. There's really not such an association. I say that in jest, and that's I represented a guy one time that he went pheasant hunting in Dumas, and it was cold. It's always cold on opening day of pheasant season in the Texas Panhandle and in the Great Plains, and he goes pheasant hunting, and he had some shells for a 12 gauge, and he had a 20 gauge, or vice versa. Had the wrong shells, so he went back to town, and he went to a convenience store, and to make sure he got the right shells, he took the gun inside, but he had on a ski mask because it's so cold and everything, and when he got inside, there was no one in there. And the guy had run out the back door. You see a guy walking in that's got a ski mask that only shows his lips and his eyes, and he's got a shotgun. You would assume that he's probably coming in to rob you. And they police showed up and arrested him and everything, and then they got to talking to him. They finally, and looked at his gun and looked at the shells and figured out that he was telling the truth. But I told him, I mean, it wasn't the brightest move he'd ever made. But you walk in a convenience store with a shotgun and a ski mask, they're going to be a little nervous. They're going to say, look who's coming in. Hey, come on in. We got a sale going on.
Going back to the case in New York, regardless of how the verdict comes back, it's going to change the way people are in New York. No one's going to want to get involved. I mean, this kid's life has been turned upside down. Thought he was doing a good deed. So people see stuff like this on the subway again. They're like, they're going to remember him.
Absolutely. And they have ruined his life, at least temporarily. And he may overcome this. He has raised $2.9 million in GoFundMe for his criminal defense fund, which it's not going to cost him that much. But it shows you how sympathetic people are. And DeSantis and some of Trump's people and others have given money to the defense fund.
And I think that, and I saw a stat that a pretty overwhelming number of New Yorkers agree that there should have never been a case.
Yeah, most of the people in New York, especially ones that that have to ride the subway every day. I mean, they're concerned. They don't like people yelling and screaming or, threatening to kill everybody. So I think they were thinking, well, maybe this will slow it down. But, he gets convicted and gets 3 to 13 years in prison. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Been a crazy week in New York. Have you followed that the murder of that CEO of
United
Health?
CEO. This was someone that was disturbed about denial of a claim or something because they had it on the bullets. The shell casings had words
deny, defend, and something. Yeah,
and so that they will catch this person. It may take them a few weeks, but they'll catch this person. But a CEO of a major company just been out, and he was going in his hotel. The guy we've all seen the video, just went up there and shot him.
Yeah.
And shot him and killed him, and then took off on a bicycle. And they later found the bicycle in the backpack in Central Park, and they think that he left on a bus for Georgia. And so they'll eventually find him, and he will eventually, tell somebody. and they'll get the reward, or they'll at least try to. Tomorrow, there's a $197 million lottery ticket that will expire tomorrow. Somebody didn't turn it in, and they lost it someplace, and it was bought in California, but that be my luck that I'd find it the day after it expired.
Chancellor, you're a good person to ask this question, I think, because you're very financially smart. What is someone that, say, has that winning ticket? What do they do first? What do you
well, I think you call if
I'm
you
calling
got a
you,
lawyer,
just so you know.
you call somebody and figure out how you're going to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to try to handle it where you're incognito and try? And that's what I'd advise someone, because everyone that's your third cousin will show up,
Mm-hmm.
wanting a little loan or something like that, or want you to invest in some gold mines in the Philippines, something ridiculous. But then you got to decide, do you want to pay out or do you want it all at one time? And if you want to pay out, that's one thing. But if you get it at one time, there are going to be all kinds of scam artists trying to get you to invest in different things. And there was a basketball player at Texas Tech, Tony Battie, that played for the Celtics and the Magic in the 90s and in 2000. He played about 10 or 12 years. Good guy, and he had a financial broker. His coach, James Dickey, got him in touch with a financial guy in Kentucky that James had known with his assistant at Kentucky. And the guy told him something like, he said, I'm going to get you a budget, and you can just tell people you can't invest in anything without my approval. And I'm not going to approve anything unless it's stock you've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
If it's McDonald's, you've heard of that. If it's some stock that's a gold mine in the Philippines, you hadn't heard. And we're going to stay with stocks that you've heard of, and that he is in a position that he could sell if he needed the money, And Tony has become a wealthy man because he let somebody as a professional do that. I've got people, stockbrokers and people that I depend on. I don't have time to do the research.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy got me to buy some NVIDIA at $6.20.
Congratulations.
And, I had another one that nobody tried to get me to do, but I did it because I knew this guy and liked him, and his stock was at 40-something, and I finally got out around $2, I think. Took a whipping on that one.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah.
Most people only talk about their wins.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because my wife bought a lotto ticket the other day, and she asked me, she says, who's first person you call if we win? And I said, Chancellor Hance.
Well, I appreciate that. The guys at Hance and Scarborough would appreciate that. They'd all be elated. We moved our office, and we're in the Texas Bankers building across from the governor's mansion, across from the Capitol. And our partner, who's been fighting cancer, Terry Scarborough, came down and looked at the office and had a good visit. He's in 2023, in August, they gave him 4 months, and he's still fighting it. And it's been a long fight, but Terry Scarborough played football at Texas Tech, a good guy, and was a former prosecutor in the office, the county attorney here, and then a trial litigator. Mm-hmm. And he and his wife, anytime you have a major problem health-wise, your spouse, they're going to be, suffering with you, and but they've been stalwarts. They're good people, and he continues to fight hard.
Beautiful office, by the way. I was there, and I've never seen a more beautiful view of the state capitol.
Yeah, it's right there. It's across the street from us, and we get a good look at it, and it's been fun getting moved in. We found some things that we thought had been lost 15 years ago, and another movie. Look what I found! I had a deal that I moved to Washington, It was a coffee set. Moved to Washington, and it moved back, and we lost it. Said maybe lost it or somebody stole it or something, and moved back to Lubbock, and then moved to Austin. And when we moved to Austin, we opened a box, and there it was. So it made 3 moves, and was finally found on the 3rd move. Anyone that moves a lot. Right now, with the football coaches, being a lot of changes and everything, I noticed there was a coach the other day that was hired as a defensive coordinator. He'd coached at 5 schools in the last 4 years.
Wow.
That's Spike Dykes, when he was coaching, he told his wife, don't plant any trees. We'll never get to see him, grow up. So just, take a picture.
I haven't seen the final answer yet, but there was some word that the kid from Abernathy, that's a quarterback for Army, might be invited to New York for the Heisman presentation.
I think he should. He got 3 touchdowns Friday night in the game where they played Tulane and beat them soundly and rushed for over 100 yards. But Bryson Daly is a heck of a football player.
It'd be a great look on TV, too, to have one of the cadets from West Point there. That'd be very, very cool.
He's well-liked by his teammates and has been a great quarterback. Sat on the bench for 3 years, and then he's been a starter the last couple of years. But they run a certain, they're 10-1 or 11-1.
Yeah.
They lost to Notre Dame, and but their coach does a good job and has those guys are well disciplined. They don't get a lot of offsides penalties or
unsportsmanlike.
Unsportsmanlike. I think Bill Snyder, who was the coach at Kansas State, and I think he's the best college coach of all time. Bill Snyder used to take a player out, not play him anymore if they got a personal foul when the play wasn't going. If they got a personal foul after the whistle died, they were out of the game. And because it's just stupid to get into that. And so he would pull them, and they were very reluctant.
The Army season's been a great one, 11-1, but it means nothing if they don't beat Navy this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be a big game, and they're back. I think they're playing in D.C.
in Landover, Maryland. I'm going to be there.
You're going up for the game.
Yeah.
You went last year.
I did.
And were they in D.C. or were they still in Philadelphia?
It was in Boston last year.
Boston. They're moving it around. For so many years, the traditional
was Philly
game was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I always think about Philadelphia in a football game. I always think back to the Eagles games, and they have a JP, just of the piece, on the site to set bonds for people, and they'll bond somebody out. Somebody gets in a fight or something like that, they'll bond them out.
Yeah,
and
they know their audience.
Yeah, I don't know. It's great publicity for you, but with some people, they have a tendency to like it. With Christmas, there I saw a deal that said that fake trees, artificial trees, are best for your pets because the other trees, they'll have a smell to them, and the pet will want to get up and sniff around and examine it and pull something off and catch the house on fire or something. And when I was a little kid, I asked my mother one time how we'd see pictures of Christmas trees, and they'd have candles on the limbs. You'd say, "Why don't we do that?" Because we don't want to burn up the house, as a little bitty kid. Also, I saw a deal that kind of humored me, that someone, a grocery store, independent grocery store, had bananas, and they got the ones, people will pick through, and they'd want 3 bananas instead of 4, and they'd leave a single. And so they put all the singles together and said, "Please pick me. I'm single and been avoided by all," and said those bananas went real fast, and people felt sorry for them. I don't know that I'd have a lot of sympathy for them.
For a banana.
And in Stupid Criminals this week, in Alaska, there were 2 brothers got in a fight and a little old town where Sarah Palin lived, and they got in a fight, and one of them took the other one's pet alligator and threw it outside. It's about 30 degrees. And the other one, to get even, he got the other brother's crocodile, threw it outside. And police came back, they came out and broke up the fight, and they found the alligator, but they never did find the crocodile.
Really?
I'm sure he's frozen in some
snowbank somewhere.
Snowbank someplace. And we had in Thailand this week, a guy fell in a well. It was a rural area, and he kept yelling for people to come get him. And they thought he was a ghost, so they didn't. Finally, somebody was looking for him and heard him, but the others thought that he was a ghost, and they didn't want to,
It's like, I'm not a ghost.
I'm not a ghost, yeah.
That's good. You want to remind everyone of our saying of the day?
Saying of the day was from Clint Murchison Sr. Said, money's like manure. If you spread it around, it's going to do a lot of good. But if you keep it in one pile, it's going to stink like hell.